Comfort in the Face of Rejection, written and read by Sister Michelle Watson. For the past few months, my branch has been memorizing Isaiah 53, verse by verse. This is a beautiful chapter of the Bible that prophesies of Jesus Christ. After reading Sister Mandy's blog from earlier this week, titled, Rejection is Protection, I now look at one particular verse in a whole new light. Sister Mandy's article touched on many things, but one thing that stuck out to me is when she described how it's not exactly a bad thing when the world rejects us as followers of Christ. By being excluded from worldly circles, we are consequently protected from worldly influences that could lead us astray and tempt us into sin. In trying to memorize Isaiah 53, I realize that God understands exactly what it's like to be rejected by the world, and even by His own. Isaiah 53, verse 3 says of Jesus Christ, He was despised and rejected of men. It says that we hid our faces from Him, and my mind goes back to middle school where kids would use a flat hand to shield their faces from people they didn't want to associate with. The chapter describes how Jesus bore our grief and carried our sorrow. He was bruised and wounded for our sins. He was oppressed, afflicted, and maligned. Jesus willingly submitted to rejection, something most of us go to great lengths to avoid. Why would He do this? Because He knew that His death on the cross would save all who believe. His atonement would pay the price of sin once and for all. For Him, rejection was protection. Not protection for Him, protection for us. Eternal protection from hell. To Jesus, a season of rejection was well worth it. Can I say the same for myself? Am I willing to be rejected by the world in order to protect my covenant with Jesus Christ? Am I willing to be rejected by other Christians for my belief in the restoration in order to keep the gospel pure? Am I willing to be rejected by the world so that I might be an instrument in God's hand to share the gospel with someone in need of eternal protection? I hope so. When I think of that verse, He was despised and rejected of men, I no longer think of it as something that applies only to Jesus. Now I consider it a touchstone for my own walk with Him. I no longer view rejection as something to avoid at all costs. Instead, I expect it to a certain degree. This is hard, but it's also worth it. I pray that if you are feeling rejected by the world, or by your own, that Jesus draws near to you and comforts you as one who knows what you're going through and what you need.